Ernest Holmes said, new thoughts create new conditions. Now that, to me, is a pretty intriguing statement. What do you think he meant by that? Well, let me give you a couple of hints. Earl Nightingale was a motivational speaker. He was one of the founders of Nightingale Conant. And his signature speech was entitled The Strangest Secret. And when you heard the talk, you know what the strangest secret was? You become what you think about. Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company, one of the innovators of mass production, was renowned for saying, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. Ernest Holmes said, what we outwardly are and what we are to become depends on what we are thinking. For this is the way we are using creative power, the creative process in action is what we are thinking. And you have a quote up there? And another quote by Ernest Holmes, there is no difference between the thought and the form it takes. Thoughts are literally things. They do not operate upon things. Thought is a vibration of intelligent, spiritual energy. When it vibrates slow enough, we can see it as a thing. So today we're going to look at the impact of our thoughts and beliefs on our lives. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to choose thoughts that empower and enhance our lives. I think that's what we all want. We want joy, we want happiness, we want a powerful, enhanced life. So we're going to look at a little bit at that. Now, I'm a great believer in starting with the basics. Just get down in the dirt and start with the simple things. Hopefully, all of you, because I forgot to do a slide about it, hopefully all of you remember our teaching symbol. You know, the big circle with the V, the lines across it, dividing it into 3 sections. And we're taught that the top section is spirit. The middle section is soul or law, and the bottom section is the body. Now, we have a wonderful metaphor that we use to teach this to people. How many of you are gardeners? Have ever been gardeners? Okay. Well, we use the metaphor that the top section, spirit, is the seed. The middle section, the law or the soul, is soil. And the bottom section is the plant, and that's what you harvest. So you plant a seed into the soil, and hopefully you're going to get a plant. For those of you who've been gardeners know that isn't always exactly what happens. Sometimes you don't get a very good plant, and sometimes the plant dies. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. And it's important because we teach that life that we see around us and all of our experiences come from our thoughts and our beliefs. So now, what do we know about our thoughts? What do we know about us as thinkers? Well, we could do a definition of a thought, and if you look in your dictionary, it's going to tell you that a thought is nothing more than a movement in consciousness. It's just energy directed in a certain way, a specific way. But we're metaphysicians, and in Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes called it a packet of intelligent information energy. Wow, intelligent information energy. Think of how powerful that is. That's what we say we believe a thought is. It's the actual working power that brings form into being. Dr. Holmes said it's the most powerful causative force in the universe. Now think about that. How many thoughts do you have in a day? Every one of those, every single one, is the most powerful causative force in the universe. Makes me think that I should think pretty carefully about what I'm thinking. Should probably choose. Well, as we look at it, we're all creative thinkers. I know. If I said to you, are you creative? Some of you go, no, I don't have a creative bone in my body. Promise you this, you are all creative, and you're all creative thinkers. That's great. But it also carries with it a responsibility, because it means that we are fully responsible for our own thoughts and choosing our own thoughts. That's a pretty awesome responsibility. You see, because the mind can choose whatever thoughts it wants. It can choose thoughts that are empowering. It can choose thoughts that are love and possibility. Or it can choose thoughts that are limiting. It can choose thoughts that are filled with fear. Now, I don't know about you, I don't like fear very well, so I try to avoid those. But one of the things that we need to understand about thoughts is our mind, our body, and our spirit are in constant communication one with another. We don't even know about it. You're breathing not because there's some gland or something in your body that says, oh, breathe regularly. No, you're breathing because subconsciously there's a thought in there that says to the body, now would be a good time to take some air in. Oh, now maybe you should exhale it. It also says to the heart, you might want to beat now. They're in constant communication. So you see, thoughts can be conscious and they can be unconscious or subconscious, if you care to use that term. They can be intentional. They can be unintentional. But the one thing we do know, and we're all certain of, is they happen really, really fast. They're very quick. Universal Spirit provides inspiration to us. Those are thoughts. Those are thoughts coming from the divine. They come through your intuition. Those are your aha moments. Those are the light bulb going off, and you have this great idea for a new way to do things or to modify something, to create a new recipe. Those are inspirational thoughts coming from the divine. But I got to tell you one other thing. Always keep this in mind. The universe, that law part, the middle of our teaching symbol, the soil, the universe doesn't discriminate. It says, think what you want. I always say yes. So if you want to think thoughts that are limiting, you want to think thoughts that aren't actually lifting you up and making you your authentic self, helping you to live your authentic life, the universe goes, sure, thumbs up, I'm good with that. But if you want to think thoughts that help you create all that you can be and manifest all the good that there is, the universe does the same thing. It goes, yeah, I'm good with that too. It doesn't care what you think. It's just going to say yes. So now let's look a little bit. I told you thoughts come pretty quickly. Let's look just for a moment at the speed of a thought. Well, I've got to tell you the truth. We can't measure the speed of a thought. But science has been able to measure the speed of your brain. So in 2014, there was a study published, and they measured that the speed of your brain is 13 milliseconds. Now, 13 milliseconds, a millisecond is 1/1000th of a second. So when you go, 1001, that's 1 second. divide that by 1,000, and then take 13 of those, and that's how fast your brain works. But here's what we can measure. Okay? We measure first comprehension, recognition, determination of action, and then reaction, or taking some action. In other words, you observe something, it clicks. You go, ooh, safe, danger, whatever the recognition is. I need to take some action, and then you actually act. That occurs in 13 milliseconds. Think of it this way. You're driving down the road, everything's wonderful, and the person in the next lane changes lanes into you, cuts you off. You recognize it, the way first you comprehend it. There's a car coming over this way. You recognize it, ooh, danger. I need to take action, put on the brake so that they don't hit you. 13 milliseconds. Or if you're like me, you're doing something in the kitchen, maybe fixing your own lunch, and you bump something, knock it over, or worse, knock it where it can fall on the floor, and I reach out and catch it real quick. 13 milliseconds. Now, we also know that the subconscious mind has been scientifically proven to process 4 million bits of information each second. That's the computer up here. Not your brain, but your mind. 4 million bits of information each second. That's fast. Why is that important? Because we talk to ourselves all the time. That is part of your unconscious, unintentional thoughts. 4 million bits of information a second. Now, it probably took me 10 seconds to say all that. That's 40 million bits of information. I'm hoping that what I was saying was positive. Now, where do our thoughts come from? I told you some of them come from the divine inspiration, but most of our thoughts come from other sources. Some of our thought seeds were planted in our soil before we knew anything about it. We were little tykes, little toddlers, and significant people planted information in our soil, and it became things that we think about. Maybe they told you, don't go up to strange dogs, they'll bite you. Stay away from snakes, they'll bite you. And you grow up with the fear of dogs, or you grow up with the fear of snakes with no idea why. Fears are learned concepts, folks. You didn't get born with fears in your DNA. You learned every fear you have from a thought being planted in your mind. Some of them are created by inspirations or interpretations, of observations. My first late father-in-law was a 10-year-old altar boy in the Roman Catholic Church in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, there was a priest in that church that was assigned to the altar boys. And one Sunday, the priest wasn't there. He was away on a trip. And lo and behold, during that same weekend, the altar boys found that all of their money was gone. At the end of the weekend, the priest came back to Cleveland from his trip to Pittsburgh with a brand new Packard automobile. Now, this 10-year-old boy put A plus B plus C together, and in his mind, the priest stole all the money from the altar boys, went to Pittsburgh, bought a Packard automobile, and didn't fess up. That was all it took for that 10-year-old to leave the altar boys. He left the church. And the next time in his life that he entered a church was when 6 pallbearers carried his body in 76 years later for his funeral. But he told that story about the thief priest and the Packard car for 76 years without knowing if it was true or not. But it was true to him. Now, I mentioned to you our self-talk. Now, I've got one confession to make to you about self-talk. The majority of your self-talk is negative. Pretty sad state of affairs, isn't it? Yeah, some of it is conscious. We even may say it out loud, or we know we're saying it to ourselves. But much of it is unconscious. It can be about your ability. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough to take this course, or to study this, or to do that. I'm such a klutz. I'm a jerk. I can't remember anything. If my head weren't attached to my shoulder, I'd forget it. You ever heard that one? I've heard it a lot of times. It can be about our looks. Oh, God, I'm so fat. I need to lose weight. Do I look bad in this outfit? I'm ugly. I'm not pretty like so-and-so. Or I'm sloppy. I'm a messy person. Or it can be about just the typical criticism, guilt things. Oh, I can't believe I've got to do this. I don't want to do this, but I've told them I would, so I must do this. You ever had those conversations with yourself? Now, the truth is, too, they don't have to just be about yourself. They can be about others. We're great sharing people. We share about anybody. Oh, don't assign that to this person. They don't know what they're doing. So we convince ourselves of the negativity of this other person. We judge them. That's what judgments are. It could be about organizations. I don't want to join that group. They are all screwed up. It can be about activities. It can be about just about anything. But the trick is whatever you're saying in your self-talk, it affects your beliefs and it affects your attitudes. Okay? But here's the kicker. It also affects other people's beliefs and it affects other people's attitudes. Because if you're a leader, whether you perceive that you're a leader or not, people are going to be looking at what you say and what you do. And it's going to impact their life. If they give you a great deal of credibility, then they're going to follow along saying, well, he or she knows what they're doing. They know what they're saying, so I will do whatever they say. You know, I came from the military background, and we had this neat thing called a rank system. And it established credibility. You didn't get to question somebody of a senior rank. You presumed they knew what they were talking about. It wasn't always the case, let me tell you. Now here's one of my favorites too about thoughts. They don't have to be rational. They can be irrational. I was blessed to have 5 daughters. I can tell you, for a father who grew up with no sisters, having daughters when they got to dating age was a stressful existence. Okay? So, my daughter goes on a date. Her curfew's 11. Be home by 11. Look at my watch, it's 11 o'clock. I'm listening for the door. Wonder where they are. Oh my goodness, it's now 11:15. Oh, maybe they've had car trouble. Oh my gracious, it's almost 12 o'clock. She hasn't called. I wonder they've been in a wreck. Oh my goodness, now it's 1 o'clock. She's been in a wreck, she's in a ditch, she's dead. If she's not dead, she better be dead, because when she gets home, I'm going to kill her. And about then, you hear the door open. Now, do I go, oh, thank goodness you're home, you know, I'm so glad you're here and you're safe. I don't think those words came out. It was, where have you been? And the response was something like, oh, we got to talk, we met so-and-so and so-and-so, we got to talking, and the time got away from us, so I didn't even notice. I was worried to death about you. Didn't you think about what I... And it goes on and on and on, and then it ends with, and you're grounded for the next 4 weeks. Okay? Now, as it was, she was perfectly safe, but I had her dead. I'd already arranged for pallbearers and the funeral. So I always love that irrational part. So it's really important that we plant good seeds. But as any gardener will tell you, you have to plant good seeds into good soil. If you got bad soil, just not going to work well. So let's take a look at the soil of our mind. What kind of quality is it? Well, you get to determine that to a degree. To a degree. Remember, this is your subconscious mind. This is your subjective mind. And the universal subjective, the collective consciousness of the universe, is always providing input. That's what we refer to when you hear somebody in science of mind refer to race consciousness. They're talking about that universal subjective mind. It's out there. All the positive things, but you can look around and see there are negative things there. There's prejudices, there's judgments, there's misconceptions and misinformation. It's always there, and it's always providing input to you. It never goes away. Now, the good news is it does also help provide inspiration and the ideas and the guidance and directions when Spirit is providing positives to you. But the important thing we want to talk about today is our individual subconscious mind. And that's critically important to us. Why? It's ours. It's yours. It's mine. Nobody else gets to say how your subconscious mind, your subjective mind works. You do. You don't get to say how mine works. I do. It's the record of all your experiences. It's all your memories, everything that happened. That's why if you get deep enough in consciousness, you can go back and pull up these old memories from the past. And you go, whoa, I don't like that one very well. But you'll find some that were wonderful. We tend to remember both. It's your storehouse of all the uplifting and all the limiting thoughts and beliefs you've ever had. It's sort of like your hard drive on your computer. It's got every file there for your entire life. And for some of us, that's been a long time. You remember that self-talk we talked about? What does that mean for your self-talk? You remember that old commercial about Prego? It's all in there. That's exactly what it means. Everything's in there. What has the most weight? Well, if an authority figure told you something, somebody you admire, that has a great deal of weight. So it's in there and it's real strong. And you have a hard time saying, I'm not going to listen to that person. They have a lot of negative qualities that I don't want to listen to. But if they were somebody that you admired and somebody that lifted you up, somebody that encouraged you, you want to listen to them more. But they're all in there, both of them. All the beliefs that you've ever had, including those learned beliefs from the time you were a toddler. They're in there. Everything that you were taught. But you know the good news? We can amend that soil. Just like if you're gardening, you can put organic matter into your soil. You can add topsoil. You can amend that soil and make it more positively productive. You know, you get to choose. You get to choose where you want your consciousness to be. And that includes your individual subconscious. It's your choice. So let's look at some, I told you we were going to look at some enrichment techniques. Let's look at a few. The first, every day, engage in spiritual practices, positive spiritual practices. Look at those things that we teach. Say affirmations every single day. Feed positive things into your mind. Even better, you're a creative person. Create some affirmations each day. You can create an affirmation each day for yourself. You know, you look at our songs that we've chosen for this morning. And look, each one of those is an affirmation. You could sing that song, sing any one of those songs. Create the quiet place. Thank you for this day. Those are all affirmations. And they all amend that soil in your mind. Do spiritual mind treatments, affirmative prayer. Another great way to change the subconscious mind. Particularly if you remember from the Bible, it was taught that God particularly loves prayers of gratitude, thank you prayers. How about this for an idea? How about a prayer as a blessing for wherever you are, whatever you have, whatever's going on in your life right this very minute? You said, well, Tom, you don't understand. I've got credit card bills. I want to win the lottery. I'd like that prosperity, that abundance, so that I can pay these credit card bills off. How about thinking about those credit card bills as a blessing that you were able to use them to have the things that you felt were necessary at that time in your life? Talk about a change of attitude. How about just looking as you pray for what lesson am I to learn from whatever's going on in my life? Tom, you don't understand. I lost my job. Maybe this is the universe telling you that there's something better waiting for you, and it's right now. The lesson here to learn is this job that you just lost wasn't the real you, that this new one is you. In another way, we can amend the soil of our mind. Another spiritual practice, meditation. That quiet time, that quiet place. Letting Spirit reveal itself to you. Changes the soil into which you're planting your seeds of thought. Another thing, look for things to be grateful for. In recovery, one of the things we teach people as they are working through the steps is start a gratitude journal. Each day, write down something you can be grateful for. If you had a day that you don't want to repeat because it just was a terrible day, look for something to be grateful for. There's something there. You know, I remember a story, and it's one that I loved. It was a teacher, and she's teaching third grade. And she had this student that was absolutely incorrigible. He was a troublemaker. He just disrupted class all the time. And she went from the beginning of school until Thanksgiving, every single day, wishing that he'd get run over by a truck so she didn't have him in her class. And over the holidays, she decided, the thought came to her of, what can I find to appreciate about this kid? And she looked at him and she kept looking and looking and looking. And finally, and I thought this was so, you had to look to find this. She finally said the only thing she could find good about this little boy was he did a great job of tying his shoes. And so every day she focused on the way he tied his shoes. And by the end of the school year, she no longer wished him any harm. The kid was actually less disruptive. She was actually glad to have had him in her class. And she promoted him on to 4th grade, and it went on. Many years later, she attended his college graduation, where he got to give the valedictory speech. And he asked her to stand, and his speech was that she was the most influential person in his life, because she was the first person that ever found value in him and expressed anything that he could connect as being love. And all she did was focus on the way he tied his shoes. And the last thing I would suggest to you to help amend your soil is choose carefully your outside influences. You know, I don't know how your day goes, but a lot of people get up and the first thing they do, flip on the TV or flip on the radio and turn on the news. What news sources are you listening to? Or is there any good news there? Or is it all doom and gloom and who messed up this, who messed up that? Who was murdered here, who was murdered there? Choose the sources of information coming to you. Choose wisely. Choose also the people you associate with. I know none of you have had this experience. Unfortunately, I have. Of somebody who says, oh, God, I just hate being here. This is this is wrong, and that's wrong, and they're wrong. Have you ever had anybody that complained and criticized all the time? You know what? You don't have to associate with them. If they're a coworker, you can form a boundary and avoid them. You just don't have to have them be a significant part of your life. And you can choose to be around people and listen to outside influences that are positive and uplifting to you. You know, I know for me, I can't stop a thought from being perceived and conveyed into my mind. But I choose what thoughts I will allow to remain in my mind and be entertained there. Yeah, I can't keep a thought from coming in, but I get to choose which ones get to stay. And I also get to choose what thoughts I'm going to allow my mind to dwell upon. You know, if there's a thought in there rumbling around, and I don't like it, and I'm having trouble getting that thought or that topic out of my head, I can stop. I can go into prayer. I can meditate. One of the things I'll do sometimes when I'm having one of those days is I happen to be a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. And so I happen to have every single book that Bill Watterson has published, largely because the majority of them are about my life. But I read Calvin and Hobbes, and I start to laugh. And it changes your attitude. It changes your thought patterns. Find something you can read that just makes you laugh. Why is all this important? Because you get to say how it's going to be in your world. Every one of you is in total control of that. Yes, you may have a boss at work, and they give you assignments. You may have a spouse or a partner that you have to negotiate periodically and agree with. But when it comes to here, you are in total control. No one thinks your thoughts for you. You get to choose. And if what you're looking around in your world and what you're seeing is not a demonstration, is not a manifestation of what you're planting, you're not reaping the harvest you want. You know, you could plant a carrot seed into that soil, good, bad, or otherwise, and you're going to get a carrot. You are not going to get a rutabaga. I don't even eat rutabagas. I don't know where that came from. You're not going to get a watermelon. But when I look around and I'm not manifesting what I want in my life, then I look at myself. I don't go to someone else and say, why aren't you doing this the way I want you to? I look at me. I call it the mirror test. I go look in the mirror, because one of the things I learned is if I'll go look in the mirror, I'm looking at the problem. And so I ask myself some questions. I go, do I need to maybe examine or change any of my thoughts? Do I need to examine or change any of my beliefs? And usually the answer is, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because the choice is always mine. And for you, the choice is always yours. So I want to leave you with this. Ernest Holmes said, "It is done unto you as you believe." No more simple, yet no more profound statement could be made. So I make you this promise. Whatever you choose, I promise you that new thoughts create new conditions. And so it is.